Yeah, this is what. Okay. So when we are storing, when we are retrieving, when we are deleting everything, so we are going to make sure via Java objects and methods oriented solutions to achieve the database operations. Instead of we are writing SQL queries and all, that's the main objective of the JPA specification. So that is fine. But here, next point here it is, okay, we are saying like JPA is a specification. Okay, so JPA here it is a JPA is a specification. And we know that specification meaning is what? A set of rules or guidelines, whatever we have to follow. So that means I will tell you, okay, we will take like this rules and guidelines. Fine. Then this JPA specification is provided rules and guidelines. So it doesn't mean JPA provided the solutions, whatever we are going to reuse in our projects level with respect to JPA functionality. So is it going to be provided the implementation part? Okay, they are saying like they provided rules and guidelines as part of the JPA specification. Then what about the implementation? Okay, we have rules, we have some ideas and everything. But what about the solution? What about the implementation? So implementation is really provided by JPA or not? Okay, so just understand this point here now. So JPA, when we are discussing, keep on discussing from JPA, we are saying like JPA is a specification. It is providing some set of rules and guidelines to achieve ORM functionalities. That is what the main solution here it is. Fine. And at the same time, I told you, so whenever we are writing in our Java logic level, so like save method or whatever it is in future, whatever we are trying to achieve, everything is Java oriented, but the same thing is going to be executed on the database level. No, right? So in between what JPA is doing? JPA taking our Java specific Java things. Okay, JPA, whatever we written inside the Java, based on the JPA specification, whatever we implemented in the Java logic level. So internally, what JPA framework is doing? JPA fetching that data and JPA is creating a SQL queries. JPA is creating SQL queries or not? Based on our Java logic. For example, here I written save somehow. So then what JPA is doing internally? It is creating which query? Insert query. Tomorrow, if I return delete method some by following JPA specification, so immediately internally JPA is converting or JPA is creating a delete query or not, right? Similarly, when I return find all, something like find method or find all with respect to Java and JPA specification, then internally what JPA framework is doing? Converting that into SQL query as a select SQL query, and finally that SQL query is executed on the database level. So that is what we discussed. That is fine. But I told you JPA is a specification. JPA provided only ideas or JPA provided only rules to achieve the ORM functionalities. But I mean, anytime I never told you. So JPA provided all these solutions also, like nothing but implementations. For example, see here, I given. So so what is the meaning? Here it is. Let me give you a general example. So here, okay, so assume, now I given this to you. So what is this? An interface. So I given to you and I asked you, please perform addition and subtraction operation by using this. Is it possible? How yes? So is it possible to execute the logic of addition and subtraction? Executing addition and subtraction. Okay, so is it possible or not? How yes? How? Only interface you guys are having. Okay, so with that, can I perform addition, subtraction or not? So if can I pass values to the interface methods? Can I execute any logic from the interfaces? Because interface itself is just like a blueprint. It's just like a specification. It's just like a rule, right? So for example, assume here clearly I given integer a comma integer b. So yeah. And here also I given integer a comma integer b. So that means how many input values it is taking always? Two input values, addition level, subtraction level. So by using this interface, if I given this interface to you, so you guys can perform directly addition of two numbers and subtraction of two numbers. No, right? So why? The reason is interface is just like a specification. Interface is just giving an idea. So what you have to follow? It's like a contract. So when you're implementing the solution, so for this, you guys need to implement a solution or not? So what you will do by taking this reference, by taking this specification, by taking this contract, so what you guys will do, so you will write down your own calculators, something like student 1 implements calculator, and then what you will do? You will perform implementation, you will write logic for both abstract methods or not. Okay, so maybe you just think like you written the logic. Similarly, we are written for this subtraction also. Okay, so now can I execute or can I get the results of addition and subtraction by using this one or not? By using this one, can I get the subtraction? Can I get the, results of subtraction and addition? 100% we can get the results. The reason is what? This is all what you did from the specification, from the contract, what you did? Implementation. So you just converted the idea into as a solution. You implemented a solution. So by using solution, finally what you are doing? You are achieving the results. You are able to execute, you are able to see the results. So that means finally you are achieving what? Functionalities, right? Finally we are achieving calculation functionalities or not? Right? So now similarly, one more student can implement this interface or not? Yes, he can implement. So with his own implementation, he can implement. Okay. So here also, everything is good with respect to solution. Can we get the same functionalities or not? Calculator functionalities. Like, can I add two numbers? Can I subtract two numbers? Even with respect to other implementation, right? So you guys are understanding here. So second student even provided logic for the calculator. So now can I use this logic or not to get the results? Okay. So even here I am passing 10 comma 20. What is the result I will get? 30 I will get. So even student 2 point of view also, I given 10 comma 20. What is the result? 30 I will get. Okay. So that means what is the point here? It is interface. Just think interface as a specification. From this specification, what you did? We provided our own implementation. Fine. Now, how many implementations we can provide for this interface? Any number of implementations we can provide. And after we are having logic implementation or solution implementation, then only we are able to see actual results or not. With real data, we can say real values and real results or not. Right? So by using only interface, can we do that? No, right? We cannot do it. It's just like an idea. There is no solution. I told you, if you are following this, you will get a lot of benefits. Then implementation, who has to take care? You guys has to take care, right? So now similarly in this case also, when it comes to JPA specification, JPA is all talking about the ORM functionalities, how to achieve the ORM functionalities. Okay, how to achieve the ORM functionalities, what kind of benefits we are going to get if you are achieving the ORM functionalities. Like that, the JPA specification is provided a lot of rules and regulations are kind of, okay, predefined interfaces, predefined specifications, everything is provided under the JPA. But when it comes to solution oriented, JPA is not saying, okay, even I have provided implementation also. So JPA provided implementation to the topics, whatever we discussed yesterday or day before yesterday, like object to query formation, query execution at the database level. Like similarly, select query point of view, when data is loading from the table, it is coming to the JPA. JPA, what it is doing? converting every record as a Java object. And finally, every Java object is converted, every Java object is added to the array list. So that means at the end, what we are getting as a result? List of objects as per yesterday's scenario. So whatever we are discussing, like, okay, JPA will convert query will be executed, or JPA will execute a query, it will get a result set, converts our Java object to array list objects. So whatever we are discussing, all these things, when it is possible, when you are having a logic implementation, right? When you are having a logic implementation in the background, but JPA is not providing any logic implementations. JPA provided only what? An idea, a specification to achieve ORM functionalities. Then who has to provide the solution? I mean, who has to provide implementations to the JPA specification? And then those specifications I can use into my project. For example, now I'm taking a new project. Okay, my project name is ABC in this scenario. As part of my project, I want to do a lot of calculations. Now tell me in this scenario, when I'm using my project, as part of my project level, so something like some interest calculations or whatever it is. So if I'm writing any Java classes, and inside this, I have to make some addition and subtraction calculations. So from this above solution, in my current project, in my real-time project level, in ABC real-time project level, I have to make sure some addition and subtractions. So tell me now, if I don't have this, okay, now assume this is a JPA point of view. So JPA is generally given an idea how to get implementation of addition and subtraction. So in my ABC real-time project level, if I want to achieve addition operation, can I achieve, for example, if I'm passing 10, 20 with respect to calculator interface, so can I get the results or not? So in this case, I will get results. No is the correct answer. The reason is, yes, JPA is giving an idea, that's fine. But where is the solution? Where you written plus operator, where you written minus operator, where you written A plus B. So do you have any logic implementation for this specification? No. So that means now what we have to do as a developer, we have to provide solution to the interface calculator first. So we have to provide solution to the interface calculator first. Yeah. So we have to provide implementation to the interface first. And now tell me, can I use above functionalities or not without writing any logic now? Can I get addition and subtraction functionalities now in this scenario or not? Do I need to write down logic again one more time? No, we already provided implementation or not? Yes. Now that implementation we are using in our classes wherever we want. Now I want to use this solution into some other XYZ class. Can I use it or not? Yes. Now tomorrow, if I'm creating one more project, I'm working for one more project and the project name is Flipkart. Assume just, okay, as part of this, I'm just making calculation of payments or whatever it is. And I'm seeing total payment, the addition of all the orders or whatever it is. So here, assume, I'm doing some calculator operations. Can I write down? Do I need to write down any logic now to do the calculation operations? Or do we already have a solution? We already have a implemented solutions to perform the additions and all. So can I directly use the calculator logics here? Can I use directly calculator logics here, whatever is implemented earlier? Right? Yes. So when it is possible, so here you can use, without writing any logics. But when it is possible, is it only possible with the interface or when you have implemented class? When you have implemented logic, class in the sense logic. So when you have the specific logic, whenever you implemented, then you can reuse that logic and you can achieve the calculation functionalities or not. So now in the same scenario, with respect to JPA framework also, what JPA is saying? JPA is a specification. JPA provided only guidelines. JPA provided only rules. So that means with respect to API, we will always get set of interfaces and classes, and interfaces, inside interfaces, we will always have abstract methods, and inside the classes, we will have implemented solutions and all generally. But in JPA, most of the times, they provided only interfaces, nothing but they provided only ideas, they provided only rules, they are not provided any solutions. Then whatever the story we discussed yesterday and day before yesterday, object to record, record to object, okay, query formation, whatever it is, then how JPA is doing internally. JPA can do alone in this scenario or not now? How JPA is just like a idea. JPA is saying like, if you are following, these are all kind of benefits I will do for you. I mean, you have to implement. Now, as a developer, what we have to do? By following JPA specification, we have to provide, first thing is, now when as a developers, what we have to do is, we have to identify JPA specification and we have to provide implementation to JPA specification. So what we have to do now? We have to provide implementations in the sense, solution. I mean, writing the logics based on the JPA ideas, JPA framework ideas. So what we have to do? We have to provide the implementation and solutions to the entire JPA specification. Now, whatever the implementation solutions you provided, now you are using JPA framework into your real-time project. For example, assume the project name is ICICI Net Banking or whatever it is. So you are working for a project called as ICICI project. Now, can you use JPA functionalities or not? Yes. But without implementation, is it possible? No. The reason is the actual JPA, whatever the JPA specification we are having, there we have any predefined solutions? No, we have only predefined ideas. Okay, we have only ideas given by the JPA specification, but JPA is not provided any solutions or implementation. So then, developer-wise, as a development point of view, what we are doing? We are providing solutions to the JPA framework, and then we are using those solutions into our actual real-time project level, right? So this is what we have to do. Same thing we did in the interface versus class also or not, right? So now, for example, here you provided implementation and you are using as part of ICICI. Tomorrow, you are working for one more project, assume something like PhonePe, whatever it is. So now you have to use JPA functionalities. Can you reuse this implementation or not? Yes, obviously, right? So however you are using calculator class in any project, in anywhere else, wherever you want. Similarly, can I use this implementation into my project or not? In another projects or not? Yes, I can use it, right? So this is just like solutions. Now I have all these solutions related to JPA specification. Can I use these solutions into another projects? Yes, wherever I want, I can use those solutions. But here the point here it is, now to implement JPA specification to solutions wise, okay, this is whose responsibility? If you are implementing as a developer as part of project usage, the JPA functionality usage, this will itself take almost 1 year of time or 6 months of time. What it is? Converting JPA rules, converting JPA ideas into solutions wise. Okay, even though you are having a larger team, it will take 6 months of time to implement JPA ideas into solutions wise. Then when you will work for your actual real-time project or when you will work for your client. So is this logic related to anything business point of view? Whatever you are trying to implement here, is it clearly related to business logic or is it only to achieve JPA functionalities? Only JPA functionalities wise. Then actually you are working for the business people, business team, or you are converting business requirements into the actual logic implementation by using these JPA functionalities. Now guess, in this scenario, is it possible to take every time, every project level, implementing solutions to the JPA framework, JPA specification? No, right? So no one will ask, no one will allow you, okay, working on the JPA implementation and all. So in this case, what happened? There are, okay, so in this case, what happened here it is, so many other companies, third-party companies already provided solutions to the JPA specification. Okay, so many other companies, third-party companies provided implementation to the JPA specification. So that means they written a lot of, they already provided solutions to the JPA specification, and those solutions are, we are calling it as ORM frameworks. What it is? ORM frameworks. Now, can you give me any name? Which ORM framework you know? Anywhere else you heard at least about ORM framework? Hibernate, right? So, right. So now this is what actually Hibernate. So when you are hearing somewhere else about Hibernate and all, so Hibernate we have something like TopLink, iBatis. Okay, something like MyBatis. I will show you the names, but the one and only ruling is Hibernate only. So I will give you the idea. So now, what are all these? These are all ORM frameworks. So that means, now again think what is a framework? Generally, what is the meaning of framework? When you are discussing about Spring, framework is a solution. Simply, in a simple statement, framework is a solution for an idea. Framework is a solution for the existing problem. Framework is a solution to avoid the repeated code, right? So framework is giving n number of solutions or not. So now JPA specification wise, the third party companies, a couple of couple of other companies provided solutions to the JPA specification and they released into the market as an open source ORM framework. So that means now tell me, whatever the JPA ideas, JPA specification wise we are having an ideas or ORM functionalities we have to achieve, those are all things available under as an implementation with respect to these ORM frameworks or not? Yes. Now what you will do in real-time project, are you going to take care of implementing your own solution to the JPA specification and those solutions you are using into this project, or you are going to use the ready-made ORM framework into your project to achieve JPA and ORM functionalities? We are going to use the ready-made ORM frameworks what are really available in the market. So we will try to use those things into our project level. So you guys are clear now? Now, for example, okay, so just these are the couple of things we have, but I will, okay. Top link, IBATIS, MyBATIS, something like, these are all what? ORM frameworks. So Hibernate from the different company, Top link from the, I think, Eclipse organization, IBATIS, MyBATIS, all these are all what? ORM frameworks. So nothing but these are all implemented from JPA specification. So that means in our real-time project, what we can use, either Hibernate or Top link, we can use any ORM, one of the ORM framework into our project, and then we can start achieving the JPA functionalities or not. Yes. So now that means what is the point we have to understand? Now, whenever I am creating a Spring project, okay, with respect to JPA module wise, if I am taking only JPA into project consideration, so can we achieve ORM functionalities 100%? No. That means we need a solutions available as part of ORM frameworks. So what are the one famous ORM framework we know? Hibernate. Yes, Hibernate is the open source, and most of the times people will use Hibernate framework only. So that means, for example, now I'm taking along with the JPA module, I'm taking Hibernate framework. Hibernate framework is nothing but a group of jar files again. Like similar to Spring framework, we will get a group of jar files. So now I'm taking Hibernate into my project. Now guess, now can I reuse, I mean, now as part of my project implementation, can I directly use the solutions or an ideas of JPA framework to achieve all the ORM functionalities or not? Yes, because this time I don't have only specification, I have solutions also. Now, whatever I told you earlier, okay, here, so this insert query is converted by JPA framework. In a generic way, I told you JPA framework. But actually, now for example, in my project, I taken one of the implementation of JPA ORM framework is Hibernate. Now tell me, internally, who is taking care of this query conversion? Hibernate is going to take care of your query conversion. But JPA is a specification, and Hibernate, IBATIS, Top link, all these are all what? And implementations to the JPA specification. So we can use any framework into one of the framework into our real-time project, and then we can start using, we can start achieving the ORM functionalities, whatever JPA is provided, whatever the ideas JPA is provided, we can achieve everything directly into our project or not? Yes, we can do that. Okay, so this is what the main, when you are working for JPA in a standalone projects or without Spring framework, in a simple core Java framework also, you can achieve JPA specification. You can achieve JPA functionalities. So that means internally you are going to take help of again Hibernate help, then only you can do that. So that is one scenario. But in this case, what Spring Framework is doing, even I will show you practically after going through the examples. So whenever Spring Data JPA module, now with respect to Spring or Spring Boot point of view, the module name is Spring Data JPA module. Okay, Spring Boot Data JPA module. So whenever we are adding Spring Boot Data JPA module into our project, so what is going to happen internally is, now the Spring Boot framework, see in this case what happened, I have a JPA specification, understand again. See, these are all internal details, okay. So I have what? JPA specification provided by whom? Java team, right? So that means it is from the Java language only, JPA specification. Now, as part of our project, if you want to use JPA, okay, functionalities and everything, what I have to take in my project level? Definitely I need to take one ORM framework or not? Yes. For example, assume I taken Hibernate. Okay, Hibernate is implementation to the, yes, implementation to the JPA framework. Okay, so now similarly, what Spring Boot module or Spring Framework is doing here, it is, they also, okay, provided couple of solutions, couple of implementation, okay, implementation, but not 100%. Okay, 100% solutions implemented from the JPA framework. Okay, couple of things they implemented as part of Spring JPA module. So that means inside the Spring framework, what Spring team is doing, they made some solutions or they're implemented by using JPA specification, but by using by using Spring JPA, our Spring team not provided 100% implementations to the JPA framework. In this case, what Spring is thinking, okay, anyway, Hibernate is the open source framework or not? What is the meaning of open source? There is no concept of buying license. No need to buy amount. So it's an open source project. You will not get any copyrights issues when you are using into your real-time projects and all. No one will have any objections. So that means it's an open source. Okay. So anyone can use this project. Anyone can use this framework without paying any amount and we will not get any legal issues or copyrights issues. Generally, that is what the meaning of open source. So open source in the sense anyone can use it. Now in this case, what Spring is thinking, as part of Hibernate also, when you are individually working with Hibernate, you have to implement couple of things, writing the same code again and again. Okay, when you are using Hibernate individually into your Java project level, even Hibernate framework is also, okay, encouraging us sometimes writing same code. Okay, writing same code to achieve the ORM functionalities or results, whatever it is. Now, in this case, what Spring JPA is thought, whatever the things we are doing again and again in the Hibernate framework point of view, even they simplified, even that is also they simplified with respect to Hibernate framework. So whatever we are doing in the Hibernate framework, some kind of things, whatever we are doing day by day, every time, like those are all kind of things. Even they simplified the existing Hibernate framework and finally they released everything as a Spring Data JPA module. So that means in this scenario, what you have to understand here it is, Spring Data JPA module is nothing but couple of solutions from the own Spring framework and couple of solutions are used from the Hibernate framework and finally they given as a package of a Spring Data JPA module. So that means now if I am adding Spring Data JPA module into my project, so are we going to get Hibernate functionalities or not? Yes, I'm going to get Hibernate functionalities automatically. So that means even they simplified Hibernate. Hibernate itself simplifying the JPA specification, but even Spring Data JPA, they are taking internally Hibernate framework as a solution and they simplified even Hibernate framework also. And finally, they given as a module to the developer. So in this case, now tell me, if I'm using Hibernate into my project individually, and if I'm using Spring Data JPA framework into my project A using Hibernate, project B is using Spring Data JPA. So now guess where you will get lot of benefits and where you are going to write down very less amount of code in A or B? Obviously B, because Spring project, the Spring Data JPA module internally using Hibernate framework also, even they simplified Hibernate framework functionalities also. So that is why the Spring Data JPA module got popular in every real-time project. And anyway, we will use Spring Web module, Spring Data JPA module like that. No need to use Hibernate framework individually in our Spring Boot projects level, because the reason is Spring Boot by default coming up with Hibernate. So in case tomorrow, if you want to achieve any Hibernate functionalities inside the Spring Boot JPA module, can we write down Hibernate solutions or not? Yes, because Spring Boot is also internally integrated with Hibernate framework only. So you guys are clear now? What is the difference between JPA versus ORM framework now? JPA specification versus ORM framework. So by using only JPA specification, which is provided by the Java language team, can we achieve ORM functionalities? No, 100%? No, because it's a specification. There is no solution. So that means we need to provide implementation to the specification. And then those implementations we have to use into our projects level. But is it that much easy to provide solutions to the JPA specification? Like within 1 or 2 days, can we provide? No, it's a lot of time it will take. So that means, but by the time already in the software industry, in the market level, do we have frameworks which are already implemented the JPA specification or not? Yes, we already have. So what it is, one of them, Hibernate, okay, TopLink, IBATIS, you have a couple of other ORM frameworks which are implemented from the JPA specification. Now what we are doing, we are always in our real-time project level or in our project level to achieve the JPA functionalities, we are taking always a ORM framework help. So that is the purpose we are learning always Hibernate. But even when it comes to Spring Boot, when it comes to the Spring Boot point of view, they simplified Hibernate logic, whatever we are doing on daily basis in the Hibernate point of view, even they simplified Hibernate. So that means here, couple of things already Spring JPA provided for the JPA specification and couple of things from the Hibernate. And finally, they released it as a Spring Data JPA module. So this is what our project Spring Data JPA module contains internally. So now you will understand. Let me create a project now. So in interviews also, they will ask you same questions. Okay, so ORM. So can I use directly JPA into my project? Is it possible? No. See, can we use JPA without ORM? Yes or no? Yes. If you are saying like no, then you are utilizing the predefined framework. If you are saying yes, then you have to provide the solution for the JPA. That's not the answer. JPA can be used without a JPA provider like Hibernate, Eclipse Link, TopLink and all. But at what time, if you are having a JPA, your own JPA implementation, you got the point, right? If you are having your own JPA implementation, then you don't need to depend on other third-party ORM frameworks. But do we have that much time in real-time projects? No, no one will give you. They will say like, we are already having a popular framework called as Hibernate. Let's use as part of solution into our project with respect to JPA specification. So that's how you just need to understand. Okay, so now let's start creating the JPA project first. Okay, project, new Spring Starter project. Okay, so project name you can give anything. So here nothing to discuss. When it comes to the next page, so what we have to take now? JDBC dependency or JPA dependency? Yes, JPA dependency we have to take. So just search with JPA, you will find out Spring Data JPA. So data SQL stores, whatever it is. See here what they are saying in a simple API using Spring Data and Hibernate. So what is the meaning of Spring Data here? So this is what I closed it. So this is what Hibernate plus the Spring Data, whatever they provided, couple of things from the JPS. So Spring is also provided couple of implementation from the JPS specification, but not 100%. So in couple of things, they are taking help from the Hibernate framework. So and finally, they released as a Spring Data JPA module. So that is what the point here it is. API using Spring Data and Hibernate. The overall called as Spring Data JPA. Select this. So is this enough? Then what? JDBC is not required here. Now we are using only JPA specification, but we are working with the database. So do we need, for example, if it is MySQL driver, Oracle driver. So definitely wherever you will go, whenever you are using database, whether it is a Spring, Core Java, Advanced Java, whatever it is, whenever you are communicating from Java versus database point of view, 100% you need always a driver jar file based on your database point of view. In the world, if you have only one database, then might be Java or Spring Boot. They might have automated that one also, but we have only one to automate. So we have like 10 to 15 databases we have in the real time. So it's not possible. So that's why it depends on your database. We have to take the respective driver. So Oracle driver I'm taking here. So is that clear now? So in place of JDBC we taken JPA and driver we need always because we are doing database operations. So next and finish. So what are the modules, dependencies you have to take? Spring, Data, JPA, and followed by driver jar file. Fine. With this, project creation is done. Okay, so next, what you have to do? So let's discuss a requirement oriented and we will try to understand how to achieve in JPA framework point of view. So here new things will come. Just concentrate. Okay, so first of all, if I have a requirement like insert data into order table. So what is the requirement here? It is inserting data into order table. So if I given this requirement to you with respect to JDBC, okay, the Spring or regular JDBC, what are the infrastructure you have to be ready? What are the infrastructure things you have to do? So that means, do we need to create a table or not first? To insert data, first of all, we need a table or not? Okay, so the table name is order and I'm going to give you the columns like order underscore ID and who ordered this, email of the person and whatever the amount and number of items in the order. Okay, something like city. So I will take even name of the person, even gender of the person. So these are all columns. Okay, so assume we are going to create this table now. We will create, fine. So once you are ready with the table, what you will do then? So we will write down our Java logic. We will start writing the Java logic. We will get the connection objects, or if it is JDBC template in Spring, we will get the JDBC template. But we need a query or not. So insert into order values, something like that. We need a query or not? Yes. But in this case, are we writing any queries to perform this kind of code of database operations? No, right? So then that means JPA point of view. If it is JPA, we are not going to write down any queries. So then how can we achieve the same requirement? The same requirement I have to achieve now here also. Then how can I do that? With respect to JPA framework, what are the things we have to make sure? We will try to come back step by step. So in this case also, what we can do is first to create a table. First of all, to insert data, we need a table or not. So we will create a table based on the our requirement. So create a DB table. Okay, fine. So go to the database. Yeah, so I'm just going to my database. Okay, tell me, query, how you are going to create the table? Create table and followed by the column names, right? So I'm just taking order ID as a number, like I'm taking only 5 digits, comma, email, where I'll take 50 characters, name of the person, so amount of the order. So I will take like 5 comma 2 precision values, comma, city I can take, yeah, where 2 of 50 characters. And what are the next? Gender also, right? Yeah. Gender also I will take where 2. Male, female, something like that. So anything else we missed from our requirement point of view, order ID, email, amount, number of items. I'm using Oracle 90. Okay, so this query is good. Even if it is not good, it will give error. Okay, select execute now. Why it is taking longer time? Yeah, just is it loading? Just wait some time. Invalid table name. So, yeah, table is created now. Okay, fine. So you see here, table is created with name called as order underscore details. Okay, so table is created. Now focus on how to insert data, how to load data from this table and all with respect to JPA framework. We have to do that. So yeah, so we don't have any data in table. Now let's concentrate here, please. So in JPA framework, now we understood we are not writing any again insert SQL queries, all these things, but still we have to perform the database operations and everything should be in the form of Java logic. We have to write down Java oriented solutions. We have to write down in the logic level. So for that, to achieve all these functionalities like object to record, record to object, whatever the functionalities, like whenever you're calling based on the save method, it is going to create an insert query. Delete based on the delete method, it is going to convert a delete query. Whatever the theory we had, okay, to achieve all these functionalities in JPA project or in Hibernate project also. So once you are completing JPA framework, right? So JPA module in next 1 or 2 weeks, you guys can learn Hibernate on your own because 50 to 60% of Hibernate things will be covered in JPA module itself. Okay, so after that, you just go through the Hibernate framework 1 or 2 times. You can keep that in your resume also. Okay, why it is, why I'm saying like it is going to cover 50 to 60% of Hibernate. Spring itself internally using what? Hibernate only, right? So that's what. Now fine. So to achieve these things, first of all, as part of JPA framework, we have to define a concept called as entity classes. So what it is? Entity classes. So what is the meaning of entity classes? These are all things related to JPA framework now, even Hibernate also. So what is the meaning of entity classes here? So how we are going to write down entity classes? What is the real functionality of this entity class? Why we are using why we are writing, how it is going to work and all, we will try to understand. So the entity class is nothing but entity class is a POJO class. That means simply a POJO class we are going to write down. An entity class represents table an entity class represents database table structure. So that means in our case, what is the database table we are having? Order underscore details. Order details is the table name. So that means somehow we are going to write down a POJO class, and inside that POJO class, we are trying to make sure that POJO class is representing the entire table structure. So that means in future JPA framework is going to use this entity class and it will try to create SQL queries from Java object to respective table SQL queries based on this entity class. So that's the purpose. This entity class is going to represent database table structure. So how it is going to represent database table structure and all, we will try to see. So that means here JPA provided an annotation called as @entity. So who provided? JPA framework. JPA specification provided an annotation called as @entity. So Pojo class should be marked with @entity to define the class as a entity class. To define the class as an entity class, okay, we are marking the class with the @entity annotation on class level. Okay, fine. So let's go and create a simple Java class first inside the project. Give me a second. I'll create a fresh project. Package name is wrong. Spring Boot JPA something. Data JPA Oracle driver. That's fine. Finish. Okay. So once you added JPA, first thing is, even do we need to add properties or not? Yes, that is what one thing. Okay, this is we discussed yesterday also. So there is entity class. So Nagaraju, can you just come get out? I mean, if you don't feel bad, I will give you one word. So you don't need to join my training. I can see you day one on, I mean, from last 3-4 days onwards. When you know that a table is created from the entity class, wait until I'm reaching to that point. Okay, if you know, I know you're the hero. Okay, or else you can come and you can teach here. I already told you the upcoming topic doubts don't ask in the class. When I'm saying like JPA module training is completed, when I did not cover the topic, then you can ask me, sir, this is what we have in entity classes. So first we have to create a table, and after that we are going to write down an entity class. So how to write down entity class? It should be a Pojo class. Okay, let me copy paste first here, save it with this code. Okay, now I'm creating a Pojo class, Java class. So now tell me, for example, I given package name as entity classes or whatever it is. You can give any package name. It's not like you have to give actually entity in the package name. Something, my class name is order details. My class name is order details. Now tell me, is it a valid class with respect to Spring Boot rules and regulations? I mean, valid class in the sense, did I manage the package name properly? So that's what. In Spring Boot JPA, by default, you have to make sure whenever you want to get everything automated oriented or auto configure oriented point of view, whether it is a normal class, bean class, entity class, whatever it is, you have to write down always under the base package. So that's why I just written this. Now, this is our base package. So JPA.entity. Now it's good. Because you guys are writing outside of the package entity classes and coming like, sir, it's not working. So you got the reason, right? So please make sure any class within the base package. That's all. Then only automation coming into the picture. Screen is not visible for everyone or only causal for you. So you guys, you can see my screen, right? Online people. Okay, causal, just take care of you. Thanks. Okay, so now when can I say this class has an entity class? This class has to mark with an annotation called as entity annotation. So here, if you see here, what is the package name? Jakarta.persistence API, the latest or the recent Okay, Java X is converted as Jakarta oriented. So that's why you can see Jakarta.persistence API. So import this package. So this is coming from this annotation you are using from JPA specification or Hibernate or Spring. Yes, JPA specification annotation. This is, that's why you can see Jakarta in the package name. Okay. Okay, it's fine. Okay, so now I return a entity class in the sense it's not done. Step by step we will go. Now I told you one thing, an entity class should represent the database table structure. So when it comes to the database table structure, so how many columns I have here? So for example, from this, what I will do, what is my table name? Order details is table name. Okay, fine. And then column number 1. So what it is? Order ID. And column, another column is email. And another column is name. And another column is number of items. And another column also amount. City. What it is? Gender. So this is what our table architecture, right? Table name is order underscore detail, and this is all about our table details, column names and all we have. So how you are going to define entity class, which is representing the table structure again it is. So again, JPA framework provided, okay, couple of annotation, which is representing the class name is equivalent to respective table, the column name is equivalent to respective property and all. So what you have to do is, first of all, inside entity class, to make sure this class is representing so and so table. So how JPA knows that in future, this class is dealing with order underscore details table or order table. Maybe some other tables also you have, like employee, student, organization, whatever it is. How JPA knows that this class, entity class is dealing with this so and so database table, because we are going to have so many tables, right? So for that purpose, JPA framework provided one more annotation called as @table annotation. Okay, so this annotation is used along with @entity class. Okay, and this annotation is declared at class level. Okay, so this annotation also we are declaring at what level? Class level. And this annotation okay, is used to define, okay, to define table name of database from the database. So this annotation we are going to use for what? To defining the table name from the database. So this entity class is going to deal with which table and all. So that table name we are going to configure as part of the annotation called as @table annotation. So let's go to the Java class. So this is an entity class. So where I have to define here? At the class level, along with entity, I have to use one more annotation called as @table. So now, what I told you, one more point. This annotation is used to define table name from the database where you are trying to achieve database operations and all. So that means, what is our table name now? Order underscore details is the table name. So let's take the table name, whatever you created, and go here. You just have a predefined attribute as part of @table, and you are giving the value is table name, whatever the table name you created. So that should be the name, that should be the value here. So that means now this Pojo class is representing from the database point of view which table? Order underscore details table. For example, I have to insert data into product details table. Assume I have one more, I need to create one more table called as product details, product ID, product name, product price, something like that. Okay. So now tell me, can I reuse the same Pojo class of entity, or do I need to write down one more entity class? Yes, that's all. one table is representing one more entity class. If you are having 10 tables with respect to your project, hopefully how many entity classes you are going to write down? 10 entity classes we are going to write down. One entity class is representing one table at a time. So that is what you have to do here. So now, okay, fine. I written table. Then what about the columns? So you have total how many columns in the current requirement point of view? 7 columns we have, right? So what about the columns? And how we are going to make sure as part of this table and as part of this entity class, which Java property is dealing with which column and all. So it looks like the row mapping concept or not. So in JDBC level. So that is the purpose I given assignment also here. So now just to define how many properties I have to define in my Pojo class now? 7 properties, because the reason is 7 columns. We have total 7 columns. Okay, fine. What I will do? Private. Give me a second. Okay. So total how many columns? 7 columns we have, right? So first one is order, ID, and it's all number. And what is the length? 5. So can I take integer here? Right? So integer, this is how you have to write down the entity classes by comparing the table, column names and table data types, column data types and all. You have to design your entity class. Okay, integer, for example, I am taking order ID. In a Java language format, I take an order ID and all. So I'll come back. How to map column names with the things and all. Okay, second one is email. Let's make private. So can I take string? Yes, email ID. Third one is name. Okay, this is also I can take it as string. Fine. Fourth one is number of items, number 2 I given. So that means can I take integer or right? So I can take integer also. Number of items. Okay, so what is another column? Amount. Private. Can I take double? Amount. So what is the next? City in the sense? String. So gender, varchar 2, I taken like 10 characters. So even I can take this one also as a string. Gender. Okay, so we taken how many properties in Pojo? 7 properties we are taking. Fine. Now, how do we make sure that this property with respect to Java? Okay, first thing is let's create setter getter methods. So as a Pojo class format, we need always setter getter methods or not? Yes. Because these are all private properties. So when you in future, if you want to set get values, you need setter getter methods. Okay, it's a simple Pojo class or not now. So that's why entity class is a Pojo class. Fine. Now, how do we make sure that this column or Java property with respect to Java language, this property is dealing with which column? Automatically JPA can identify like order ID is equal to OID. In any scenario, just think, is it like looks like meaningful? OID in the sense, is it order ID, origin ID? Who knows? Right? Other ID, who knows? Right? So that's what. So how do we make sure here it is? JPA specification provided one more column called as @ guess. When table name, table. When column name, column. Okay, JPA provided one more annotation called as @ column annotation. So this annotation will be used at property level or class level? Yes, property level. Okay, so this annotation is used to define column name of table, column name of the table. So now, what is that annotation? @ column annotation. So see here @ column from which package? Jakarta.persistence, nothing but JPA. Okay. So column and open. See any predefined attributes available or not? Yes, I have. Name is a predefined attribute. And what is the column name here? Yes, exactly. OID is the column name. right? So similarly, okay, so now similarly, how many column annotations I have to define for every property or not? Yes, at the rate column and followed by name. What is the column name? Yes, email. And at the rate column, what is that? Name equal to okay, fine. And okay, let's do one thing. So you guys are getting idea, right? Column name and what is that? Number of items. So num underscore underscore items. Fine. So it's all about amount, but in the table also, yes, amount. So what it is in the table? City only. Okay, fine. Here also city. And even gender wise also gender only. Okay. So this is how you are going to write down the Mojo class. Now your entity class. So now your entity class is okay. Entity class writing entity class is completed, but still we have other steps also. Today Saturday, right? Oh, sorry. The weekend. Even I forgot. So Monday we will meet, but definitely I'm telling you, if you are missing Monday class, you will not understand entire JPA. Because the first example, right? Hello world example kind of thing. It is now I will introduce you one more concept of repository, JPA repository. So by connecting entity versus repository, then finally you are achieving without writing any SQL query, you are doing the things. So please make sure Monday is available. And meanwhile, what you can do is you can create one or two tables, create your JPA project. Okay. And let me execute first of all, everything is good or not. Okay. You just create your own table and create a table with like minimum 7 to 8 columns. Don't create with employee ID, name, salary. Your table is done. Then you will lose. Okay. So at practice level itself, I'm taking 6 to 7 columns, and at the training level, you guys can create a couple of columns. Nothing will happen. Okay. So see here, there is a problem. Yeah, identifier. I'll come back this point. What is the meaning also? I will come back. So simply what you can do is you just add here. I will come back. There is a JPA guidelines is available. You have to make sure adding ID for one of the columns. So nothing but primary key column. Generally, order ID is representing what? I mean, generally, order ID will always be primary key value or not. Student ID like primary key value, employee ID primary key value. So one more annotation, whatever for example, you just create a table like this. I will come back and I will explain you later. So create table with primary key column. Make sure one column is primary key. Even in this case, I can make order ID as a primary key. Okay, even though if you are not creating table with the primary key column, but if you want to see the project setup is good, let's see here, I will run one more time. Make sure adding one @ID to at one column level, but I will give you the clear details about ID on Monday. We don't have time right now. So in case now see everything is executed, that means project setup wise good or not? Entity class wise and all. But I will come back. Why I added ID? What is the purpose of ID? Okay, what it is dealing and all. We will discuss in Monday class. But create a class, try to write down your own Pojo classes and entity classes. Make sure until this practice and Monday we will see what are the other things we have to take care as part of JPA module in spring. Then how we are going to get to how we are achieving the database operations and all. We will discuss on Monday. Forum framework. Oh, Hibernate. Yes, 100%. Even if you go to the Maven dependencies, I forgot to show you this. So what is this? When you added, which dependency you added today? JPA, only JPA we added. Go and observe here. Spring data JPA you got, that's fine. What is this? Hibernate hyphen core, Hibernate hyphen commons. So that means what framework they are taking internally, Hibernate or not. So Spring Boot is taking internally help of Hibernate framework, and they built some couple of things from the JPA specification. Finally, they released as Spring Data JPA. So internally, Spring Boot is also using Hibernate framework only. We will see those details also Monday. And mostly Hibernate will use in every real-time project. Most of the times Hibernate is the topmost. Okay. So let's connect on. Okay, let's connect on Monday. Thank you.